Never gonna make anything out of this.
Nope.
Because I'm terrible on camera, it turns out.
Shut up. Hey everyone, it's Megami33 here with another vlog. It's been a while since I did one of these, but I thought a good one to do would be to introduce my boyfriend,
Hi.
Alex. He helps me do our Twitch streams, which we call PlayDate.
Help.
where we play games with each other that we normally
I'm
don't
helping.
play. And hopefully some other stuff in the future. So yeah, I thought it would be cool so people can learn more about you, since a lot of people are either calling you HBI2K or that other guy.
Yeah,
so,
they assume I'm somebody else from Team 4-Star.
But you do have a connection with them, which is how
Yeah,
we met. So you
I roomed with Nick Lanipator in college. The second year of college, we were roommates, and we've been friends ever since. Actually, that's why you and I have met too, is because that first year that we were roommates, second year we were friends, first year we were roommates, he was going to Youmacon, and that was the second time you guys met up at Youmacon, I think
so, yeah.
And he
2009 or something.
He had a
maybe?
+1. His now wife, then girlfriend, they were dealing with some shit, and he had a +1 that she was not going to use, or he didn't think was going to use.
Right.
And then he was just like, I have an extra ticket, do you want to go? And I was like, sure.
You guys used to drive to Youmacon too?
We drove from Minneapolis to Detroit, which is about a 12-hour drive. It's not that bad, but when you're one person, I do now have a driving license, but then I did not. So it was just a buddy on the road. So he was just down in energy drinks to stay focused.
That sounds like him, yeah.
Yeah, that was when 5-Hour Energy just started, and he was like, well, try it out.
If Nick didn't bring you, we probably wouldn't have met and like started dating and stuff.
Yeah, and the reason why we hit it off was because I was a voice in the background of early Team 4-Star scripting and stuff, and you were one of the people that I'd never like talked to outside of like one or two. Like I heard your voice twice.
I remember you wanted me for a fandom. Actually.
Yeah,
a Scott Pilgrim fandom.
Was it Scott Pilgrim?
It was. I think he wanted me to play Knives.
I had a bunch of like ideas in college that I started but never turned into anything.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
You knew Nick. That was before or after the accident that you had?
That was after. He had that tail end of high school. I met him first year of college.
Okay. So were you along his process when
he still had the cane when I knew him.
Right, but were you along the process when he was working on Yu Yu Hakusho Bridge?
Yes, he was 5 or 6 episodes in when I learned about the show, and because before we were roommates, I was hanging out with him because we had a film class together, and he and I are both kind of awkward until you get to know us.
Yeah.
And so basically I just was like, hey, I think the reason why we were like, hey, let's hang out is because I noticed he had Guitar Hero.
That is true. If you ever meet Lanipator or Alex, they are type of people that like, they're great to talk to, but you need to actually have something that they like.
Right.
Or topics.
Saw the setup and I was like, hey, you have guitar, or it might have been Rock Band, like the full thing. And I was like, do you want to play that? And we started that, but like
friendship grew.
We knew each other from the film class. I asked to play Rock Band a little bit. We kind of grew out of that, and then we kind of just hung out on a regular basis.
You both love films and talking about films when you can, and just like, you know.
We're both movie buffs.
Yeah. There's actually like, I don't think they're up anymore, but there were a couple where you helped him.
They were on Blip, and Blip did that big cleansing of anybody who wasn't making them.
Right. I think you did like a Thor one and then something else.
Yeah. I got fans who were like, you don't know Marvel Comics because you don't know Thor. At the time I didn't, but now I've read Jason Aaron's Thor.
You still knew more than like both of them. Like, than Nick and Erica did at the time. Like
your friend calls himself a comic fan. But now I've read Jason Aaron's Thor, and Thor is fucking awesome.
You really love comics.
Okay. I'm a big movie guy. I'm a big comic guy. Comics, I don't keep up to date with a lot of stuff, but I basically wait and see college was also when I really got into comics again. I started in high school, but when I was in college, I was like, oh, there's a comic shop like within walking distance.
Okay.
So that's why I started getting all those trades. Most of those trades in our other room,
right? Oh yeah,
are from college.
I didn't really get more into comics until like Alex. Like I read a couple, but I didn't know at the time they were like comics. You
still need to read Watchmen. You watch the motion comic, but it's not the same.
Yeah. But another reason we bought it too was because I think at the time the Walking Dead show was starting, and I started reading the comic.
Mm-hmm.
So we started getting into that.
That's one
more.
She's into. She is also into Saga because of me. Miss Marvel. She likes and then the finished one.
I love just Brian K. Vaughan in general.
Why the Last Man you finished.
Yeah, I think he's a brilliant writer. He's very creative.
Mm-hmm. I also saw the beginnings of Team 4-Star because basically because Kaiser was the first one to approach that. They teamed up for the movies.
Right. Well, it was Lanny, Vegeta, and Masako.
Yeah, they teamed up for the movies, and then when Kaiser and Taka were talking about, like, Taka was asking what he wants to do, and they were formulating the beginnings of the team. Kaiser, Nick didn't know Kaiser, and he was just like, a gay guy online likes me.
So what were your first impressions of the guys, since you seem to hear conversations with them? Or were you in the conversations with them?
I was, if Kaiser sees this, or Mark, Ganjingba. He's no longer with the group, but he
still does stuff with us.
He does voice work, but he has a fucking job. He has a real job, a quote unquote real job. But he and Kaiser and I think Taka all had a running joke that, like, Kaiser called me Chimey because every now and then, because before they were in video chats, they would just be scripting over Skype, and every now and then I would just say like a zinger or a one-liner or like something at their expense, or add to the script with like, you should have him say this, and then they would. And Kaiser at first was like acting really annoyed with it, but after, like, when we met at Youmacon, he's like, I actually appreciated every time you did that because it added to the conversation and it made me sure that we were on the right track.
Right.
Or, like,
no, I remember early on they were okay with other people being in scripting sessions because I was there too, but then to save time, obviously, they had to keep them alone. Also,
at the same time, Taka and Ganjingba had a running joke that I wasn't a real person. That they assumed that the second voice in the room was just Nick being real talented and real clever. Fuck you, Nick. Alex isn't there.
I can't think of any ideas, guys. Maybe we should do this.
Yeah, exactly. They thought that, like, this voice was just him being talented.
That's so funny.
I don't think they literally thought that.
You never told me that.
But they poked fun at me and said, like, you're not even a real person.
They poke fun at you a lot, like, when you started coming more to Youmacons, too, because they started giving you different nicknames, too.
The Fro-Squatch thing was already...
Alex's hair gets really fluffy to the point that it's not exactly like a Jew fro, but it can get that.
It can be.
Yeah. Some people have called you Seth Rogen.
Yeah,
like Seth Rogen.
We got that on the train coming home yesterday.
That's not a bad thing. Seth Rogen's
it's
cute.
Just weird.
Did you ever help with his abridging show?
Not technically, because he never got as far as because when he was still working on Yu Yu Hakusho, he had all the disc sets that were available at the time, and I was like, I remember watching a lot of this on. Was it on Toonami?
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched a bit of it on Toonami before I had gotten to college, but I didn't watch the whole series, so I was like, you know what, I'll sit down and watch it. I'm glad I watched it while he was doing stuff in the background, because that show, for me, is, like, it's one of his, like, things that means a lot to him, so he can just... he can just marathon it.
It's a great show.
It's a good show, but for me, it wasn't I can't sit and watch it alone.
Right.
I get super bored with it. And I think that's true of a lot of shonen shows where it just is like big long stretches of
well, yeah,
fight
because
scenes.
I'm not a fan of Bleach or Naruto.
Yeah.
Because a lot really doesn't happen.
I abandoned both
and then
those shows.
A lot of people are like, oh, but the manga's great with the fight scenes, and it's just like, yeah but I want a little.
But anyway, like I was watching it, and I'm glad I watched it with him in the background because we kind of turned it into mini like riffing sessions or like scripting like what you should do when you get this far. And I had a really good dark joke for the tournament that he never got to, but I kept saying, like, when it was more likely that he would continue the series, I was like, whenever you get there, you gotta keep my joke, man. The guy with the red hair who was like, his voice was Irish.
Oh, Jin.
It might be the introduction of the shotgun blast of his, or something like that, but he basically does his finger gun thing. What is it actually called? Is it just finger gun?
It's finger banger. Something.
No, finger bang is what Nick called it.
Finger bang.
Because that's a sex act.
Spirit gun.
Spirit gun. Okay. When he uses his spirit gun, I think he uses his shotgun for the first time, or something that is
grenade launcher or something.
But basically, there's a big explosion within the very vicinity of him, of Yusuke, and the guy like backs away and dodges and goes like, "Man, you're crazy! You don't. Why would you? Why would you have a large boom in your face?" And I went, and immediately it just clicked with me, and it was a real dark, but I still think it's hilarious joke. You know that Ireland has had trouble with the Catholics versus Protestants, at least in the 90s and everything. I was like, you don't have a bomb go boom in your face. You put it under cars or churches, and then you make it go boom. That's super tasteless, but I love it.
I mean, that's like the only dark joke that I came up with that they used. I think they
Troubles, Wikipedia that shit.
They used it later on where I said, like, hey, Poor can transform into anything, right? Like
the noose?
I was the one that came up with that.
Yeah.
And then they were like, Megami! That's so dark! And then they just used it later.
I think Nick was still game for it just because...
I think I was the one that also came up with Jinx being Popo's girlfriend, because it's like... In any case. What's actually your favorite anime? I know one of your favorites is the Slayer series. You really like Slayers.
I like Slayers. It's
like an old school thing. It's kind of like me. Like I like Sailor Moon and Pokemon, but like that's a different kind of.
I was introduced to anime through Adult Swim and Toonami. Some of the stuff I liked, some of the stuff I didn't, but the stuff I gravitated towards was Cowboy Bebop. A lot of Americans gravitate towards Cowboy Bebop. Yeah. And the follow-up series, Samurai Champloo. I don't think there's as much of a fan base for Champloo as there is for Cowboy Bebop, but it's...
Probably not, but it's definitely stands out.
It's another one of those mishmash of cultures.
Yeah.
Those two are my favorites. I'm also a big fan of Satoshi Kon.
You like his movies and...
I have Paranoia Agent. I have basically everything except for Memories, which was like a 3-part. I haven't watched a lot of recent stuff, but...
Yeah, I need to show you some stuff, but the problem is a lot of it is like silly slice of life stuff, and I don't know if you're gonna like that.
Yeah.
But like, Slayers is probably the closest to that because you like.
Well, Slayers
is like silly and.
Slayers is not like my favorite thing, but it is something that I like because my oldest brother, introduced it to me when he knew that I was getting into anime, and he and I had played D&D, and he was like, "This is basically just a Japanese guy's D&D session, transcribed into."
That's the best way of describing it.
Transcribed into a fucking show. You'll like it, and yeah, it's goofy fun. We met, what's her name?
Lisa Ortiz.
Yeah, Lisa Ortiz. Actually, we were hanging out with her and a few friends at a bar, and I said, "Lisa, we were finishing the new seasons of, I'm actually a fan of Slayers." And she's like, "Oh yeah, what do you think about the new seasons?" I'm like, And she's like, "I know." It doesn't translate well because it's a running joke throughout the entire thing. It just kind of wears thin real quick.
Right.
Is that... they find a magic MacGuffin that is the new most powerful thing, and then there's a person who is like, I want that MacGuffin, and
that's basically every show.
The first one's good, the second one's great, and then the third one is like, oh, we're doing this again, and then the Revolution and our Evolution are both like, oh, we're doing it again, huh? Yeah, I mean, I like those characters. It's just kind of running through the motions at this point.
So I guess I'll just ask you a couple of like rapid fire questions, even though asking you a question sometimes takes a long time.
I elaborate. If I care about the question, I elaborate.
It's fine that you do.
Real in depth.
But it's like I ask him to explain a scene in a comic, and then he'll have to like tell me the origin of every single piece of it.
Because you don't know this guy's origin.
Right, but I just asked a simple question. Why can't you just answer the question?
Well, also, like, whenever anybody
What's that guy holding? Well, you see, the item that he has, if you know,
it's a combination of like 3 major items.
You could just go like, that's this. The item is this. It does this. Thanks, hon.
Anyway, what was your question?
What's your favorite superhero? I know when I've dated you, you seem to go through a different bunch of superheroes. Like, I know you love Captain America, you love Batman, and then you were kind of going into Superman a lot.
The thing is, because I went to college for English, for creative writing, and just kind of writing in general, I one of the cooler things that I wish I paid more attention to, and I probably should reread, is Joseph Campbell's stuff about the monomyth and the hero's journey, and recognizing that, even knowing the little bit that I know about that, you see it in everything. You see it in basically all modern storytelling. And that's basically why TV tropes exists, because everybody borrows from everybody.
Right.
But everybody borrows from the monomyth. I just find the hero's journey really interesting, and then Marvel is a master of kind of tweaking that, or at least they have been, depending on the writers.
He hasn't answered the question yet.
Shut up. I'm getting there. Superman is a character that I didn't like until college, until I realized, oh wait, there's 3 eras of Superman.
Right.
There is the All-American who is fighting for the American way, which is how he started. And there is the alien from another world allegory for just being an outcast and finding your place. And then right now, because he has a kid, he is the allegory of like the best fucking dad ever. And now that I've grown up, I was too old for the, like, I don't feel right in my place, and I always gravitated towards the X-Men for that kind of outcast feeling.
Right.
So I never really gravitated towards that. But now that I'm like in my 20s, closing in on my 30s, and I'm like, I might have a kid someday, it's like, I want to be that dad. He's the best dad ever. And so you have reasons for liking Superman, and he's a really good one. Like, he has various ways to approach him, various ways to write him. So he's never, like, people find him boring because he's too powerful, but like the entire point of Superman is that he is incorruptible. You find, like, people around him, he's a good guy dealing with shit around him.
Right.
And you're trying to find ways to deal with the shit around you. It's like you dealing with the world around you. We're in a shitty world right now.
Right.
And it's like, I'm just trying to live my life and do the best I can. And you gotta...
It's probably just more refreshing than just like with Batman.
Right. Well, because Batman, both of them have origins in tragedy. Both of them lost parents. Clark just didn't really know his.
Right.
And then depending on who wrote him and which origin you go with, his dad's dead too, and sometimes his mom too. He rises over tragedy. Batman lets tragedy fucking consume his life.
Right.
And it's admirable that he's like, I want to make sure that nobody has to deal with that ever again, but that's also fucking psychotic. Right. And a lot of modern writers are like, no, Batman is unhinged. Even though, like, and And even the Lego movie did this, is that it's ridiculous that everybody paints Batman as a loner, even though he has the fucking Bat family around him. It's like, he's got Batgirl, he's got Robin, he's got 3 Robins,
but
he's got...
let people get too close.
Yeah, they'll get hurt. But it's like, hey, Bruce, you don't have to wear the entire weight of the world on your shoulders. Right. It's like, you're just a dude. And the entire point of the DC thing is that I see Marvel and DC as 2 different things. Like, people have one or the other that they prefer. Marvel is the street level, like, these are people in your backyard, like people you know as heroes. And then DC is, these are the pinnacle of like what everyone aspires to be. They are gods. Batman is a man who has risen to the point of godhood.
Okay.
He is a guy who is like shoulder to shoulder with Superman and Wonder Woman, and they're like, hey, you belong here.
Right.
And like, everybody else is superpowered, and he's just like, I'm real smart, and I have the tech for it.
So the answer is Superman.
Superman, it's tough. It's like asking me my favorite movie. It's like, it depends on the day, it depends on the show.
Like,
I
won't
narrow it down. Narrow it down, Corinne.
Superman's the answer. I don't think we should go into movies.
I'm passionate about comic books.
No, it's a very good thing that you are. I think that's one of the reasons why I love you. You're very passionate about the things that you like. That, like, I mean, I watch a lot more films because of you that I don't think I ever would pick up, you know?
What's the most interesting film I've introduced you to?
I think well, interesting as in, like, how it was
you would
made,
have you would have never seen it, but you're glad you've seen it.
I think I'm gonna say the name wrong. Llewyn Davis?
Llewyn Davis? Inside Llewyn Davis?
Yeah, Inside Llewyn Davis. I don't think I ever would have watched that, because it's
later Coen Brothers.
Yeah, Coen Brothers is always weird to me. I think I appreciate Alex showing me films because I learn more about directors, but
she's hit or miss with Coen Brothers. Like, she really appreciates them, but it's also like, I don't need to watch that again.
But like,
sometimes.
Yeah, so like, I think that one's very interesting because it's a guy that's just, he comes off as like
he's
an incredible...
consumed with the art, like the struggling artist.
Which I can relate to, and it comes off as a real jerk, but like when you see kind of where he's coming from, I mean...
It's a double-edged sword because basically it presents the struggling artist as like, get the fuck over yourself, but the struggle is real.
Yeah.
He is his own worst enemy, but you also understand what he's trying to do.
Yeah, we can go on and on about film with this guy.
Yeah,
so,
let's do more film vlogs.
We could do film vlogs if you guys are interested with that, because yeah, I love, you know...
Film or comic vlog? Talk.
That's one of the reasons why I love you, hon. You're very passionate, and you explain things in a way that always grabs my interest, and I think a lot of people would appreciate hearing it.
So that's my intro.
So that's an introduction to Alex. If you'd like to know more about him or want to hear some thoughts about some movies and comics and games that we're playing, let us know. And yeah, we're gonna be starting a Let's Play soon, actually. We'll see how that goes.
All right.
So we're
gonna actually start recording right after this, aren't we?
Yeah, why not?
All right.
So take care, guys.
I don't know what it's gonna be.
It's a surprise for him. Bye.
Bye.